Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Dog Eared Thoughts. I'm Michael, and I'm happy that you're here. I can't believe it's already April, if not sure if you can either. But I wanted to finally get back to talking about the books I read in March. I read 7 books in March, and one of which I've already talked about. So check out the previous episodes on King Sorrow, and you'll know exactly how much I love that one. But today I'm going to list all the books that I read below for all of you to take a look at. Today I wanted to talk about 4 specific books that I read that may not necessarily get as much attention, although one actually has gotten a lot, or at least I've seen a lot between Bookstagram and BookTube and other places like that, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. But the others, I was in a bit of an ARC mode, advanced reader copy mode, in March, and I really cranked through quite a few of them. So I wanted to talk about a few of them, plus one good nonfiction book that I wanted to share with you. So buckle up and let's get into it. Okay, so the first book I want to talk to you about is called The Outer Country. It's by Davin Malayan. And this one is a debut novel. And I would say my biggest critique of this particular one is that I wish it was longer. It publishes in May 5th, so just a month away. So something to look forward to. And so I'll read a little bit about the synopsis. It is, again, a debut novel. It is about 2 Thai sisters, Amanda and Sirapan. And Sirapan is the younger sister who was chosen by the family to leave Taiwan and go to America and settle in Los Angeles. She's married, and that's where the story really picks up. The older sister, Manda, is goes from Taiwan to America to help be with her sister as she's about to give birth to her first child. And so the story picks up there, and really what it delves into is Manda's truly her true feelings related to not feeling like she is respected enough to be as the older child, to be the one that was chosen to leave and go off to America. And secondly, that Sirapan and her husband, having been in America, no longer really follow the very traditional processes and ways of going through, of being Taiwanese, and really following the old school, and that is something that is set against Manda's position against the family in that way. The story also follows Sirapan's son Ben, who as after he's born, as he grows and kind of follows through from obviously being born all the way into college and beyond, and how he struggles with not only 2 things. One is his sexuality and coming out, and that story especially set against a very traditional family, but also that when he was a young child, and Manda sees that he might be, I think he puts on a dress or something along those lines. Manda takes it upon herself to kind of track down a Buddhist priest monk to kind of perform for lack of a better word, an exorcism to make sure that he grows up as he should, quote unquote, right? And the trauma that is kind of buried within Ben as he goes from a child and kind of going through this very traumatic experience into adulthood and following that track along with it. It really builds on itself as it goes through, and I think it's a very solid debut novel. Like I said, I think my biggest critique is I wish it was a longer book and that it delved into some more of the characters a little bit deeper. But absolutely feel like this is going to be a great one. I think Davin's going to be a great author going forward, and hopefully we'll see more. And definitely recommend taking a look at this one and reading The Outer Country. All right, the next one is called Accumulation by Aimee Pokwatka. I apologize, I'm probably saying that badly. Potwatka. And this is, again, this also is being published on May 5th. And so it's definitely going to be a good day, a good month in May as you look forward to that. Um, this is Aimee's third novel. She's definitely cut her teeth related to kind of horror or kind of dark fiction in that sense. This one is called Accumulation, and it is a haunted house novel. And I will be the first to tell you I'm a sucker for a haunted house or a house that seemingly takes on a life of its own, whether it's haunted or just spooky or whatever goes through that. So I jumped at the opportunity to jump into this. The synopsis on this is a filmmaker, Tennessee or Ten, as the goes through the book. She's given up her career to support her husband, who has a very demanding but also good job, and raise their two children. And they move into what they think is going to be their dream house. And of course, to some degree, you can say, okay, we know what's going to happen. It's a haunted house story. The house that they think they love is going to turn on them. And absolutely accurate. But there's an amazing twist at the end that I'm not going to give away, obviously. But I feel like it absolutely took me aback and kind of really made me look at the rest of the story with fresh eyes, and how original the story evolves and builds on itself to get to that point. And obviously it kind of drives Ten as the main character on how this house destroys or hurts relationships within her marriage, within neighbors, within obviously her children, and herself, and both physically, mentally, everything that kind of digs into that, and really how she battles through coming to terms with what's going on. And it is definitely it is not a jump scare kind of book necessarily. It is a building creepiness, a lot of what's going on, a lot of what where are we going with this, and it truly builds onto this. So I would absolutely think let you know that this is something you should read. It's going to, as you go through it, it may even seem a little off-putting, but it's by design, because by the time you get to it, it all falls into place, and really lands hard in that regard. So absolutely recommend Accumulation, and you should definitely check this out when it comes out in May. Next book is really an interesting approach. It's called Hell's Heart by Alexis Hall. It actually published in March, so just a month ago. I actually read the arc and finished it just in the beginning of March before it published, so probably about a week or two before it went out. And this one is straight up kind of a space retelling of Moby Dick. There's really no other way to put that. It is absolutely a really interesting take. It has a queer slant on it, which is great. The approach in terms of the creatures and the hunting that goes through this. Spaceships are hunting creatures for their what is equivalent to the spermaceti that we hunted sperm whales for in Moby Dick. It is absolutely, and trust me, you'll get that in talked about a lot. It is absolutely nowhere near as long as Moby Dick is, but it really jumps into the story where first person kind of narrator takes on a commission, and like I said, this is a retelling. So the ship is called the Pequod. The captain is just kind of referred to as A. But obviously stands in for Captain Ahab. The the character is, which would be, would consider the Ishmael character in Moby Dick, is roomed with a woman Q who speaks Latin, for lack of a better word, but is also kind of this rare person who is from Earth, right? And even though the world is based on kind of our solar system, because it takes place in hunting these creatures in the storms of Jupiter, it it really kind of takes on an interesting slant on that. I will say for me, this came across a little too on the nose in terms of a retelling. It it was fun. It was very fast. It was much more fast paced. It had a great approach. Obviously, you knew, generally speaking, where the story was going to go, but how you got there was fun. But I also felt like it was a little too snarky at times, and really could have been either a completely humorous take on it or a completely serious take on it. But it had to balance both of those, and I'm not sure that it did so perfectly. There were times where I felt that I could have done without some of the jokingness, that it could have been more serious. So it was definitely a fresh take. I think the characters themselves were pretty interesting. Again, I almost would say this could have been longer if it had struck the right balance in terms of digging into the characters a little bit more, and really kind of digging. It didn't have to be as long as Moby Dick, of course, but like it absolutely could have been longer. But it landed where it needed to land. It was a serviceable story. I would say that if you're looking for something along those lines, you should absolutely pick it up. So again, that's Hell's Heart by Alexis Hall. All right, the fourth book and final book that I'm going to talk about that I read in March is called Stony the Road, and it's by Henry Louis Gates Jr. You may know him best from doing the PBS series Finding Your Roots, which is an amazing show. You should absolutely watch that. And this actually the title comes from the second verse of Lift Every Voice and Sing. It's often called the Black National Anthem. It's a very powerful song, so you should also listen to that. And Henry Louis Gates Jr. is a Harvard professor, and this book really focuses on Reconstruction, which is the period after the Civil War, and what was gained during that period of time, which is unfortunately a very short period of time, and then what was lost following the kind of return of the previous world, and then the growth of Jim Crow and everything that came with that. And so it really is. Gates does an amazing job. It's so well written and well researched. Really kind of digging into talking about how Black Americans, they had schools, they're people who were in Congress and state legislatures, really working through all of that, and then how quickly all of that disappeared, and how much it took to get back from that point to basically the 1960s, where the Civil Rights Act was passed, and all of that, all of what came from such an amazing 10 or so years of period of time, and how rolled back everything was so quickly. And one of the things that really is so good about this book, and this one I would actually recommend having the physical copy of it, is that there's a lot of illustrations, pictures, a lot of things from that time period, both in the late 1800s and into the 1900s, and telling the stories of what's going on, and it really speaks about figures like W.E.B. Du Bois, obviously, all of people in the early 1900s who were standing on the shoulders of others, but really kind of telling their story of like, what did they lose and how are they fighting through this movement to continue to fight back for what they could have gained or what they could have had, and now what they have now. So absolutely wonderful. Highly recommend that. This was definitely one of my 5-star reads for the month. And I love a good nonfiction book. I really personally I love that period of time and kind of learning more about that. So really recommend that. And those are that's my summary or kind of wrap up for what I read in March. Again, I will list all the books, the other books that I read in below in the comments or below in the description. Love to hear your comments a little bit more about what you read in March, what resonated with you, either about these. Are you excited about any of the arcs that are new books that are coming out? Anything that you've read that you want to jump in and kind of recommend that I should read going forward? My April, if you listened to the or watched the last week's video, I talked about my library haul, and definitely in the midst of the Count of Monte Cristo and digging into that. I did finish the book about Trotsky. That was great. I'll definitely will be talking about that at some point. And then, Crime and Punishment, digging into that, as well as audiobooks that I'm listening to as well. So I am April's starting off strong, and we'll see where we go from there. But absolutely look forward to hearing more from you all. Go ahead and like the video, drop a subscription, please add some comments, and look forward to talking with all of you soon. Take care.